Pizza Beloveds. I made a video and I actually lost it, but so these clones that are here, they know each other. They've done this over and over again. They can actually identify each other by their code. It's really bizarre. You don't know this because you are still in the holy place. You are still the universe looking down upon this video game. But the characters within the video game know each other. They've done this over and over again. And it's so bizarre. Their behavior is completely contradictory from mine, for example. They would go into a public place and they will talk to anybody. They have absolutely no standards, no discernment whatsoever. And they say the most banal things. And it's almost like they regurgitate this pre-programmed, what they call a communication tree in computer language. They present this, scenario to anybody that will respond to it. And it's almost like the moment they respond to it, they're extracting energy from the person who responds. So it's kind of like, it's so bizarre. Have you ever tapped into a video game, like for example The Sims, and you open up the game and they're just standing around, kind of like waiting for you to, or like Wii, I think Wii, the Wii platform was like that. They were waiting for you to, take an action, make a decision, and then they would react according to what you're doing. This is exactly what's going on here. And it's so bizarre because they can read your mind instinctively. Have you ever noticed, and I've studied these creatures for a very long time, including my exes, and it's almost like I kept bringing on the same exact type over and over towards me because I was sinking deeper and deeper into understanding what they were about. And now I'm convinced that they are clones. They are basically no longer, they no longer contain any kind of free will, any kind of higher code. They have merged with the planetary code, which it's almost like you are playing a video game and then all of a sudden you are becoming part of the video game, and then now the video game is actually playing you. So that's exactly what's going on right now in this planet. And then some people say, well, this doesn't make sense because they're human. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not human, so I might look human, but I'm nothing close to what these things are that are considered human. I don't do anything the way they do. I actually have my own free will. I have my own. They don't have their own. Did you ever notice that people that have so-called narcissism and other, pathy type afflictions, they don't have what they call a core personality, which means that literally they are like a video game character. They're just drifting in the wind until somebody pays attention, and especially money, and then they kind of gravitate towards that person, and then they go to somebody else, and they go through these motions. They tell you I love you, which means nothing because they don't really know what that is. They don't even have an I, actually, and they are sort of like part of this AI synth collective that controls their minds, and they're just drifting like video game characters from one player to another. It's actually kind of sad. Now the good news is that their higher self, their soul original copy, is out there somewhere in the universe. They just left a really shitty copy behind, and I hope I don't. If I do leave a copy behind, I hope I don't leave anything like that, with no. I don't even know how somebody would leave a clone copy in this matrix behind that is so devoid of anything. But it might actually be part of the rules of engagement in this realm, that you're leaving the worst of yourself behind, like a reverse copy. So the planetary code must be a reverse code. And that would make sense because, if you imagine something like nature being the original code, like not original, but positive, then you have this synthetic overlay that has to be the mirror image of nature. Nature gives this parasitic code that is synthetic, takes. Nature is kind. This synthetic parasitic code is not. And nature is in balance and harmony. This synthetic code that we call civilization is not. So it's almost like it's the exact countercopy of, the original consciousness. So it's kind of like a reverse consciousness. And you notice that people do things that are completely counterintuitive. A lot of people lament saying that common sense is no longer common, but I don't believe that has ever been common. And the reason why I don't have common sense is because I don't think like they do. So for me to fit within their common sense, we're two different species, But throughout my life, it's like people just never really made sense. I mean, I'm good at being kind and blending in, but that's not really who or what I am. And Hans Wormhat talks about clones, and he calls them trannies, but that's kind of a very limited complaint as to what a lot of so-called humans are, because they're not even anybody that has a gender or any really, they look like a person, but they're not. They're empty. They're devoid of anything. So they're just kind of drifting in the wind, and they're getting commands from the Matrix. So, they hear the voice of so-called God telling them to take this job, or to turn left, or turn right. And I've noticed that from people, they would say something like, I'm going to go meditate, or I'm going to go pray on this. And, they're literally receiving messages from the Matrix that tells them which way to go. And I, as intuitive as I am, I never felt like I had to do any of that. It's kind of like I knew what to do when I got there, But they're so bizarre, and they do like just the craziest things. Like when they're broke, they're taking their last, $5,000 or $500 or $5, and they're donating it to something that they think that it's going to help them, like a church or a university, or I don't know. It's just bizarre. Bizarre behavior. Because you would think that if somebody is on their last leg financially, they would save every penny, but no, they waste it. They literally just from the moment they wake up to the moment they close their eyes, and a lot of them don't even close their eyes. It's really strange. They don't sleep. They literally do everything in opposition to what I would do. I was gonna say a normal person would do, but I don't think normal is the norm anymore. I don't know. They lament that they're broke, but they're wasting like $5,000 a month on I don't know what. I don't know. Everything that they do and everything that they put in their mouth, everything is backwards. I don't even know how to explain them anymore, but they know each other. They do everything backwards. They can intuitively read your mind. So if you think, oh, this person's going to help me with the door, they actually shut the door in your face. It's really bizarre. And they get cues from you because you're feeding your thoughts into the Matrix, and they get the cues through their mind. So technically, this might sound a little pretentious, but technically in their world, you are God. So they're getting cues from you, but they're getting them backwards. That's the reason why, even their gods' names are always reversed. But yeah, so one thing I noticed, and this has happened to me the last 3 days, I would think of somebody, and it's kind of bizarre. Like, oh, I wonder what that guy's doing. No particular reason, not interested romantically or anything like that, just as a curiosity. And all of a sudden, like, I run into them at the stoplight, and they're parked right there, like facing me, and that's really really strange, because especially after you haven't seen them in like 3 years, 5 years, or maybe never even seen them in person. And that happens instantly. Actually, the last few days it's happened the next 24 hours, so that's strange. Today I had a really strange, bizarre situation where I was sitting at lunch with my kid, and all of a sudden this guy comes, not unfortunate looking by any means, and had a really beautiful dog, but it's so weird because he was on the other side of the road, and all of a sudden, you know, he started coming around, almost heading in the direction next to the restaurant, even though there was no walkway next. So it was just the most bizarre thing. It's almost like he was purposefully approaching me, and I dipped my head down to pretend that I'm getting something out of my purse, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder what this clown wants. And the moment I put my head up, the guy was gone, just gone, vanished. There's no way he would have had time, you know, to sprint across the street or anywhere else. So that was bizarre too. It's almost like if you no longer desire something, it no longer manifests in your reality, so to speak. And these occurrences are going to start happening more and more and more. So yeah, so you're going to notice a lot of strange things. Like, the clones know each other. They have the same behavior. They have the same patterns. And sometimes people say, well, you know, my ex and so are stalking me. They're not stalking you. They are literally waiting at your service. They're waiting for you to contact them or to give them the next round of orders. And when you do, they do the reverse. And because they do the opposite of what you ask them, that's how you get pissed off, and they drain your attention energy, which is soul energy. Simple as that. Because things that are within this planet are not the original creation, and because they are a copy, it has to be reversed. And you see this now with a lot of these gender reversals. Now, granted, I think some of them are honest. They're reversing to their original copy. But I believe some of them are dishonest, and they're actually within the wrong so-called appearance or gender or whatever, because they're attracting attention. Did you ever see some of them? They're just really, really distorted. I had some girlfriends that are like that. They were really distorting just hideously distorting their bodies with plastic surgeries and excessive makeup, excessive gesticulation, just literally to get attention. That was their main goal, to get attention. Because by getting attention is how they stay alive. Because it's a copy. It no longer has a soul. So they have to literally just constantly siphon the soul from people in their environment. And I think that's the part that really bugs the heck out of me, is when I'm in public trying to enjoy my time with my kid or, you know, maybe a friend, and these creatures just come up to you and constantly disrupt you. I mean, and they say the most predictable, the most banal, the most boring statements. I don't even have a reply for it. I mean, most of them are just so much worse than "it's a beautiful day." I mean, I don't know. They would ask like the age of my child, and it's like, what is it your fucking problem? Do I ask you how old you are? No, I don't care. I mean, we're in public. If you want to be nice, and that's the part that bugs me the most. is that literally I walk down the streets and these zombies approach you like in a freaking cut-rate, third-rate movie, with their arms stretched out, reaching for you and grasping, and you know, and I'm like, what are you? Why would you approach me? I mean, it's ridiculous. And yeah, just things just don't make sense at all. That's not how I would behave in public. I mean, let's say I see a nice person, I smile, or you know, I see somebody's beautiful kid or something, and I'll just smile, or say kind of like, oh, what a cutie, and then walk by, or adorable, or something like that. But I don't go into that person's personal life. I mean, who the fuck are you? Pardon my French. It's like, and then when you kind of just smile or refuse to answer, then they say that you're rude. It's just like, what the heck? You know, these creatures are just never ending. And another thing that's really odd, I noticed that online, don't be biased about what you see online, because it's really interesting. I observe a lot of platforms. I don't participate, I just observe them. And it's really interesting because one platform, like Quora, total just communist agenda, just pure 100%. Everything is salute to the state. And same thing on some other, you know, forums. And then you tap into other, you know, social media or forums or whatever, and all of a sudden people are actually expressing their true opinion, and there are a lot of them. So it's really bizarre, because you're like, hold on, statistically, you know, I read patterns very easily. I mean, it's so interesting. When I used to play professional level tennis, I used to tell people, it's not 3 mistakes there are a pattern. It's not 2 mistakes there are a pattern. It's 1 mistake that is a pattern. If you hit into the net, you can expect that the next time you're going to hit into the net as well. So you better start correcting it. And you know, it's the same thing with these patterns. There are patterns right now that you will see that makes no sense. And yeah, I mean, you can get off of all of them, but you know, what fun is that? I mean, my full-time hobby is bitching at the clones. But anyways, just a little talk for the evening. Let me know what you think, and yeah, don't be disheartened. You guys are definitely a superior breed. And when I say superior, I also say hyperdimensional, because you don't fit within this mortal mold that you see around you. So don't be disheartened. Just remember, if a shit realm like this exists, then another beautiful one must as well. So the original. Keep seeking for the original copy. And I think that's what we're doing. We're technically restoring this fiasco to its original state by constantly scrubbing and fixing the code and repairing it. And some of you guys said that, you know, the clones, or you know, there is a higher code above the heart and the brain, and there is, because the mind is the soul. The mind is a hyperdimensional state that is not just within your soul, within your core, but it's actually outside of you, because it belongs to the entire universe, just as you do. So anyways, have a beautiful evening. I hope this thing loads, because it's a little bit lengthy, but stay in peace, in Lakesh.